Growing up, Tanjiro Kamado was surrounded by a loving and mild-mannered family, with his parents, Tanjiro and Kie, being perfect reflections of Tanjiro's own kindness. But what if Tanjiro came from a completely different bloodline, one that's completely at odds with his nature in the original series? In today's video, we'll explore how the Demon Slayer story would change if the most violent and unpredictable Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa, was Tanjiro's dad. Now, this theory sounds almost as unhinged as Sanemi himself, so let's just do a little setup to figure out how exactly we ended up here. The first issue is that Sanemi is canonically only about 6 years older than Tanjiro, so we'd have to push Sanemi and Genya into the previous generation of Demon Slayers for the storyline to even work. However, Sanemi's childhood still remains unchanged, so there's all the trauma from seeing his own mother transformed into a demon and killing his siblings. Sanemi still fights her off until dawn to protect Genya, and the misunderstanding between the brothers drives them apart, leading them on completely different journeys as Demon Slayers. And this is where the story gets interesting, because if you think about it, there are so many parallels between Tanjiro and Sanemi. Both lost most of their families to demons and had to watch their siblings die, and became Demon Slayers fueled by grief, rage, and an almost concerning level of determination. But there were parallels even before the demon attack, as Sanemi practically raised his younger sibling after their father died. Similarly, Tanjiro was literally the man of the house for many years as well, providing for his mom and 5 younger siblings by working as a coal burner. But how exactly does Sanemi end up being Tanjiro's father? We know that after killing the demon to save Genya, Sanemi was wandering across Japan, hunting demons with whatever weapon he could get his hands on. In the original timeline, it was Masachika Kumeno who helped Sanemi gain some control and actually learn swordsmanship before taking on more powerful demons. But our timeline precedes Masachika by at least 10 years, so this time, the one who helps him regain control is Kie, Tanjiro's mother. Picture this. Sanemi wanders into a village that's being terrorized by a demon and hunts it viciously, fighting the demon from midnight to dawn with no consideration for his own safety. The villagers are grateful for his help, but Sanemi looks almost as terrifying as the demon he just killed. Most people take one look at the scared, blood-covered young man and run the other way, but Kie is different. She takes Sanemi in and bandages his wounds. Kie hands Sanemi some ohagi as well, the first sweet thing he's tasted since his mother died. Sanemi falls in love immediately, the way traumatized people do when they finally find someone who understands. And Kie manages to round off Sanemi's rough edges, but when Kie gets pregnant, he panics. Sanemi's afraid of the responsibility that comes with a child, but he's even more terrified of turning out like his own abusive father. So the night Tanjiro was born, Sanemi disappears. Kie believes that he must have been killed by a demon that night, but in reality, Sanemi left to officially join the Demon Slayer Corps. All of the repressed rage and regret of leaving Kie is unleashed on the demons that confront him, and Sanemi earns his characteristic scars in battle, becoming the most terrifying Hashira in the Corps. And Tanjiro, the gentle man Tanjiro calls father, in this alternate universe, he's Kie's second husband, a kind man who agrees to raise Sanemi's son as his own. Tanjiro takes after his mother in terms of appearance, but he has Sanemi's explosive temper hidden underneath the kindness. Now, the storyline follows the original for a short while, with demons attacking the Kamado household while Tanjiro is out, and his returning to find that everyone has been turned into demons. Tanjiro is still discovered by Giyu, who sends him to train under Urokodaki, but this Tanjiro is not the same as our lovable main character from the original storyline. When Tanjiro faces the likes of Kyogai, he doesn't show his usual mercy or respect. His actions are driven by unyielding rage that pushes him to kill demons as brutally and efficiently as possible. Now, I know what you've been wondering about all this time. Does Tanjiro still awaken sun-breathing at Mount Naragumo if he's not a descendant of Sumiyoshi Kamado? Well, it's true that Tanjiro doesn't possess Sumiyoshi's ancestral memories, but he's still seen Tanjiro performing the Hinokami Kagura on cold winter nights. This means that Tanjiro still finds the inspiration to cut through Rui's webs, and manages to survive until Giyu and Shinobu arrive to the rescue. But here's where the story gets truly crazy. The Hashira meeting. In the canon storyline, Sanemi stabs Nezuko through the box and taunts him with his Marechi blood. But in this timeline, Tanjiro doesn't run and try to headbutt Sanemi. Instead, something about Sanemi's scent feels strangely familiar to him. When Tanjiro screams out in rage, seeing Sanemi attack Nezuko, the wind Hashira stops in his tracks. He turns around and sees Kie's features and his temper in Tanjiro, immediately realizing that is his child. Sanemi lets Nezuko go, pulls Tanjiro into his arms, and for the first time since his mother's death, Sanemi cries, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I left you." Sanemi holds Tanjiro in that desperate embrace, but Tanjiro immediately pushes him away. Just like his father, Tanjiro is harsh and unforgiving at times, and he cannot accept that Sanemi abandoned Kie all those years ago. It's even worse than just abandonment, because Sanemi is actually one of the few people who could have actually defeated a demon and saved the Kamado family. Tanjiro refuses to work with Sanemi and returns to the Butterfly Mansion. following his Demon Slayer journey just like the original timeline. During the Mugen Train arc, Tanjiro carries a volatile, barely contained rage that even Rengoku notices. When he eventually breaks free from Inmu's blood demon art, Tanjiro tears through the train with none of his usual hesitation. Once again, he uses sun breathing to cut through the train and behead Inmu, but it doesn't come as naturally as it did in the original timeline. The battle against Akaza doesn't change here because Tanjiro and his friends are still too weak to intervene, and he still witnesses Rengoku's death at the hands of the Upper Moon 3. One interesting change in Tanjiro's personality is his sense of recklessness that he inherits from Sanemi. Just like his father, Tanjiro rushes into battle headfirst, instead of taking the more thoughtful approach that we're used to seeing. Tengen notices this during the Entertainment District arc, and points out to Tanjiro that he's too intense and too ready to kill. During the fight with Gyutaro in the original timeline, Tanjiro unlocked a new form of sun breathing and awakened his Demon Slayer mark to behead the Upper Moon 6. But this time, the awakening takes on a brutal, wind-like aggression he inherited from Sanemi without ever studying the form. Instead of the brilliance of the sun, every slash Tanjiro delivers comes with violence and killer intent. For the first time, Tanjiro sees it. He's becoming Sanemi. When they reunite after the mission, Sanemi tries again to apologize and to be a father, but Tanjiro walks past him without a word. The Swordsmith Village arc proceeds without a change, but Tanjiro realizes that he's hit a wall with sun breathing. Originally, he was able to access Sumiyoshi Kamado's ancestral memories to an extent, and use that knowledge to refine his breathing style. But in this timeline, Tanjiro doesn't have the incredible memory of the Kamado lineage, meaning that even his memories of watching the Hinokami Kagura are fading with time. So, during the Hashira training arc, he reluctantly asks for help from the one person whom he knows would never say no. Tanjiro begins training with Sanemi to cover the gaps in his sun breathing. The Wind Hashira doesn't know about the original forms, but he doesn't need to. Sanemi analyzes Tanjiro's movements based on what he remembers of the Hinokami Kagura, and fills in the missing components one by one. It's not a perfect replication of sun breathing. In fact, it's even more aggressive than the original, but this perfectly suits Tanjiro's current fighting style. But before the father and son can bond over their training, Nakami's blood demon art brings the Demon Slayers to the Infinity Castle. Just like in the original timeline, Tanjiro faces off against Akaza with Giyu, and manages to defeat the Upper Moon 3 by accessing the Selfless State. But the real challenge is defeating the Demon King, and the Demon Slayers battle it out in the open while they count down the sunrise. As the Demon Slayers fall one by one, Muzan corners Tanjiro, understanding that if he kills the sun-breathing user, the battle is over. Tanjiro charges blindly at Muzan, taunts him, but this was a terrible miscalculation. Muzan's tentacles shoot forward, too many, moving too fast for him to dodge. But at that moment, a blur of white hair and scars strikes like a hurricane, as Sanemi throws himself between them. The tentacles pierce the Wind Hashira through the chest and stomach as he's lifted off the ground like a broken doll. Tanjiro screams his name, but Sanemi just looks back at him and smiles. "I'm here for you now." Sanemi slashes desperately at Muzan, knowing he won't make it out alive, but still wanting to keep the Demon King from harming his son. The Wind Hashira's final words are, "Live for her, live for your mother." As Sanemi falls to the ground, Tanjiro dashes forward, filled not with rage but with purpose. He unleashes the strongest version of the Hinokami Kagura so far, creating an afterimage so bright that it shines like the dawn. As Muzan falters and dies in the sunlight, the wind in the battlefield goes quiet, as if bowing its head. After recovering from the battle, Tanjiro visits two graves, his mother's near the house he grew up in, and Sanemi's fresh grave next to it. If you like this story, make sure to like and subscribe so that you never miss more incredible Demon Slayer content. We'll see you in the next one.